I decided I'm going to stream me making a Touhou game tier list. Ranking my favorite, making my Touhou games from favorite to least favorite. I don't know, above this one. S plus, because this is something that I can do to just chill out after all that, as well as upload to YouTube. I want to give this a different colour like that. Okay. So we'll go through all the games in order. Touhou 17 isn't on this list, but I'll talk about it anyway. And I'll be ranking the games from least favorite, obviously being in D tier, C tier, B tier, A tier, S plus tier. I'll rank them based on gameplay, music, characters, because the games that have the characters I like, I'm going to be a bit biased towards, as well as the gimmick, and then any extra things, uh, as well as any extra things that I think is relevant for that specific game. I'll be ranking them based off. So we'll get into it as we go, I suppose. So Touhou 1. The gameplay of Touhou 1 is obviously the most unique of the entire series. It's got a completely different game. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't really like it that much. The characters basically don't exist. There's no dialogue in the game whatsoever. The music, on the other hand, very. I like it. Angel's Legend is probably one of my favorite PC98 songs, for example. And Sariel's theme is also really good. So good, in fact, it inspired a Pokemon song, actually. There's a song in the Pokemon series that's very similar to Sariel's first theme. The problem with Touhou 1 is that it's by far the most frustrating game to play. HRTP, Highly Responsive to Prayers, it's by far the most frustrating Touhou game. The way, just because of how it works, if so infuriating. You die more to your own attack with the ball than to actual bullets. It's the most stressful Touhou game for me, for sure. I think I'm actually going to put it in D tier. The gimmick is obviously the different kind of gameplay. There's nothing really else I actually want to add on to this, but I do like the soundtrack. That's pretty much the one thing I like about Touhou 1, and I appreciate it as being the first game in the series. I think you'll put it in B tier. I mean, I really don't like it. I'd put it in C tier at most because I like the soundtrack of the game. That's probably the highest I'd go on Touhou 1. But everything else about the game I really don't like. I think C tier is the highest I'll put. I'll leave it in C tier for now, and if I want to move it down, I'll do it later. Speaking of games I don't like, Touhou 2 being the first actual bullet hell game, not that good. The gameplay, the main gimmick, this will be covered in the gimmick. The main gimmick of this game is that you have no focus, basically, which fucking sucks. um, it's not too hard. There's only 5 stages. It's not too hard. The extra stage as well. If you flawless the extra stage, you don't even have to fight the boss. And on top of that, I really don't like the soundtrack for Touhou 2. Like, I really don't like it. I think it's probably the most bland soundtrack in the series for me. There's no songs that really stick out to me other than Tank Girl's Dream. I do like Tank Girl's Dream quite a bit, but that's it. It's probably it is probably D tier. Although the extra thing I'd like to talk about with this game that can maybe save it, although it's not really good enough to play in C tier. The redeeming factor of Touhou 2 is the dialogue. The dialogue in this game is honestly some of the funniest shit in the world. It's like pretty much on par with Touhou 8, except Touhou 8 is better. Touhou 8 has really good dialogue as well. Spoiler alert. But I think the best part about Touhou 2 for sure is the dialogue. Nothing else about the game really stands out. Having no focus sucks. It's honestly, it's just not fun to play. At least Touhou 1 is different. So there's, yeah, so I'll put Touhou 1 in C, Touhou 2 in D, because Touhou 1 is different, and therefore there's a reason to play it, I think. Touhou 2 is just so outdated, so also infuriating to me that I can't play it any higher. But the dialogue is the one redeeming factor of the game. Touhou 3, I think is going to be the first one in A tier for me. Biggest issue about this, well, okay. First thing about Touhou 3 is the gameplay, being like it's a Phantasmagoria game, Phantasmagoria of Dimensional Dream. So it's not the same as like any of the bullet hell games. It's if you play Phantasmagoria Father Review, it's basically that, but PC98 form. I enjoy that kind of gameplay, and I think Touhou 3 actually does it really, really well. The only problem is Umemi is a bitch. That's that's honestly the biggest issue of the gameplay I have for Touhou 3. Other than that, it feels really fun to play. It can hurt. It does hurt my fingers sometimes having to mash the shoot button to be able to shoot. That is kind of annoying. But other than that, the gameplay I think is really. It's a different Touhou game and it's really well done. The music for Touhou 3 is also a lot of it is kind of bland. A good bit of it, but there are some really standout songs. The biggest example, of course, being Strawberry Crisis. Strawberry Crisis is an amazing song. I like Reincarnation. I like Dimensional Dream, which is Marissa's theme in this game. All three of them are really fun. You don't need to mash that much in 3, so it's not a big of a problem. Yeah, I suppose. I've not played it in a while, but that's something I remember being pretty button mashy. What else is there to talk about, Sophie? The characters. This game features the most one-off characters in the entire series. Like, it features the most. I'm pretty sure it features the most characters that never appear again, being Kana, Ellen, Kotahime, Rikako, Yumemi, and Chiyuri. None of them ever appear again. But, for what it's worth, I do like a lot of them. I like Yumemi and Chiyuri. They're pretty cool characters. I like Kana quite a bit. The other 3, not so much. They don't really stand out for me. But Touhou 3, I think, is an easy A tier for me. Definitely a step above these 2 games. Alright, well. So let's move on to Touhou 4 then. Band would love to put this up here, but I'm putting it down here with Touhou 3, I think. I'll probably put it below Touhou 3. You only care about Shiori and Yumemi in 3? Yeah, fair enough. I think that's fair. I think that's what most people who play Touhou 3 say. Moonturn, thanks for the follow. You need to learn more about Touhou. So Touhou 4, gameplay wise, you put that's a detail because of Mugatsu's opener. Honestly, good idea. But Touhou 4 is the first Touhou game to bullet hell Touhou game to introduce focus mode. And that I think that already puts it 3 tiers above Touhou 2, because fuck that shit. But Touhou 4 is also really, really, really easy. Like, it's really easy, except for the extra stage. Yeah, except for the extra stage. The extra stage of Touhou 4 sucks dick. But other than that, Touhou 4 feels really easy. And as such, I think it's a really fun game, to me personally, to just play casually. To just chill out and play casually. The characters, again, most of them are one-off, but it does have the big advantage of being the game to introduce Yuka. And Yuka is in my top 10 favourites. So that helps. The music of Touhou 4, on the other hand, is amazing, I think. I really, really like the music for Touhou 4. I can't think of any song that doesn't stand out for me. But the biggest ones that I like is Alice Maestra. Alice Maestra's a beautiful song. Inevitably Forbidden Game is a beautiful song. Yeah, LLS is the best for beginners because it's easier when you have save states. Yeah, you have save states with Annex, so you can practice specific bits of it. It's also got probably the easiest final boss in the series. Like, literally, if you get past stage 5, you win, basically. Stage 6 just doesn't matter because the final boss is so easy in this game. What else is there to say? There's no gimmick for Touhou 4. The extra stage, which you've played on stream, I really, really hate it. It was really, really infuriating. If you know how to beat stage 4, you know how to beat LS. Yep, that's a problem. That's something that I will say is an issue. In the fact that most of the difficulty is focused on one stage. And it's not spread out. And that's something we're also going to 10 Desires later down the line. Because I feel very similar about that game as well. I love all of Sun's music. Yeah, all of Sun's music is amazing, but I think Touhou 2's music was very bland. Touhou 4 is where they really hit its stride, I think. Like, Touhou 4 is where Sun really hit its stride with music. Is there anything else specifically to say about Touhou 4? I don't think so. As well, yeah. Um, I like Touhou 4's main game. I really don't like the extra. So I think that's it for Touhou 4. Touhou 5, on the other hand, is going in S tier. I love Touhou 5 so much. As the final PC98 game, I think it's just so good. I've not played it in a while, so I think my commentary specifically about it might be a bit iffy. But I think Touhou 5's gameplay. The only problem I find in Touhou 5's gameplay is that stage 4 with Mima, you can't see a fucking thing. I love the rest of this game. 5 is the best PC98 game, yeah, I agree. And I'd put it in S tier. The music is even better than Touhou 4, I think. Last Judgment is probably my favourite PC98 song. Dull Misery, really good. Shinky's theme, really good. Grimoire of Alice, really good. Speaking of Grimoire of Alice, introduced Alice into the series, which is obviously a major player in the entire series. Really good character. Shinky's a really good character. I like Yumeko a lot. Yuki and Mai are pretty interesting. Um, yeah. So 5 has so many good songs, I think. There's no specific gimmick to it, I think. I think gimmicks are something. We'll talk about rank with Touhou 6, I think. Most of the characters are really cool as well, yeah. I like every single character from stage 3 onwards. Stage. Oh, Louise is really good as well. Louise is really interesting how she, like. Doesn't Louise actually die? And then she comes back in Touhou in stage 4 as a ghost. Yeah, MS only has scoring gimmicks which don't matter. Yeah, so we're not talking about scoring gimmicks in this tier list because I don't do scoring. Louise comes back as a mid boss in stage 4, yeah, but doesn't she like? Isn't it canon that she dies though? Because she's in stage 2 as the boss and she has blonde hair and she's a ghost in stage 4, unless she's just a ghost anyway, and she has blue hair in stage 4, which is interesting. Tale 5, I think, is where he hit stride with characters as well, where the characters started becoming more interesting, progressively more interesting. She looks like a ghost, so she probably died, yeah. There's a lot of interesting character dynamics here as well. And also how it ended Touhou, the PC98 series, and also influenced part of Touhou 12, in the sense that Shinki destroys Makai, and Makai is destroyed in Touhou 12. Shinki is one of the best final bosses. Shinki is the best final boss, I think, in my opinion. Maybe rivaled with Byakugan. I really like Byakugan as a final boss as well. Shinki is the most story-driven final boss. Like, the actual boss fight has the most story behind it, with how she changes forms progressively and then destroys Makai at the very end. And you can see it in the runes in the background. Which is another thing, actually, little minor thing about Touhou 5 that I think is really charming, the backgrounds. Specifically in the Shinki fight and in the Alice fight. The first Alice fight. The first Alice fight, you can see the entirety of Makai. Like, you can see it as a place where people live. You can see houses. There's a river, I'm pretty sure. It looks like an actual world where people can live. And then that's influenced and shows back up at the end of the game with Shinki, who, at the end of the fight, everything's just burning, everything's destroyed, everything's ruined. It makes such good use of backgrounds, much better than any other Touhou game, I think. Like, no other Touhou game has that kind of level of detail in the background where even the backgrounds of the game tell a story about how Shinki just destroys Makai. I don't remember much about the gameplay other than Touhou 4, other than Stage 4 sucks. But I remember it being pretty good, pretty interesting. This is the last game with good art. Sun's later games have decent art too. But yeah, Touhou 5, I love Touhou 5. It's definitely the first S tier. Oh! Okay. Well, that's PC 98 tier list done. Now onto a game that I don't love. Touhou 6. All Zone Art is good. I'm honestly debating whether B is too high for Touhou 6. It might be top of C tier, but we'll talk about it. So, I'll leave it in B for now. Touhou 6. I really don't like this game. It honestly, to me, it feels more outdated than Touhou 1 and 2 does. And the specific reason why, because it tries to be like the PC 98 games in the sense that, say, you can't see your hitbox, the bullets are all spread out. I'm pretty sure, if I remember the game correctly. Oh, no, I don't. What I was going to say was wrong. I was going to say your shot type doesn't change when you focus, but it changes slightly. But it changes at least. It's similar to PC 98 games in many regards in gameplay, but it's a Windows game. Yeah, but it's a Windows game. So, as a result, it doesn't have the charm of the PC 98 series games. But it also doesn't have the refined graphics, the refined gameplay kind of. Like, it doesn't have the same refined gameplay as the second Windows era. So it so the gameplay just really falls short for me. It doesn't feel that interesting to me. And it feels like, since it's right in the middle of the PC 98 era and the Windows era, those two things clash and it makes a pretty ugly mess of gameplay. And I think this, since it's the last game that it's apparent, this is where we're also going to talk about rank. Rank sucks. I could make an entire YouTube video explaining how rank sucks and still probably not go over it all. Basically, if you don't know what rank is, essentially it's in Touhou 4, 5, and 6, and 7, but it doesn't really matter in 7. 4, 5, and 6, the worse you do, the easier the game gets. The better you do, the harder the game gets. And I think Zun even realized that it's a pretty bad mechanic. Since he basically got rid of it in Touhou 7. Yeah, rank is dynamic difficulty done wrong, I think. Simply because it makes the game. It feels. Oh, it's hard to explain. It often feels like it makes the game harder for no reason, if that makes sense. Like, say you're practicing stage 1, 2, and 3. You're getting better at stage 1, 2, and 3. You can do that bit pretty easily. All of a sudden, stage 4, which in this game is the hardest stage, probably, all of a sudden stage 4 gets a lot harder. And stage 4 just really destroys you more. It does feel awkward and unnecessary when there's already difficulty modes, yeah. And Zun did realize this after Touhou 6, that the fact that you have difficulty modes, you don't really need rank. I don't notice rank that often, but when I do, it's always in a negative light. But it's not that big of a deal to me, but I know a lot of people really dislike rank. As for the music, it has some really good songs. I like Septet. I don't like You Ain't No Winner's Her though. I like Septet. I like Centennial Carnival for Magical Girls. That's a really nice song. Of course, the Stage 3 song is really good. The Stage 4 song's really good. I can't think of any other songs that I particularly like from Stage Touhou 6. I think it has probably my second least favourite soundtrack from the Windows era, though. Third least favourite soundtrack from the Windows era. But it's still Touhou's soundtrack, so it's still pretty good. The main gimmick of Touhou 6 is that the Death Bomb window gets smaller every time you use it, which I think is actually a really good gimmick. I really like it. I wish it came back more in Touhou Games, but it didn't. In fact, Touhou 8 basically did the opposite. But yeah, I do like that gimmick a lot. The characters, of course, a lot of people love the Touhou 6 characters. I don't like them as much as other people do. Remilia was one of my favourite characters at one point, though. Remilia is probably my favourite character from Touhou 6, but so overall, the soundtrack is fine. Gameplay is meh. Like, it's not that bad. I think I made it out sound worse than it really is. It's not that bad. I love Touhou gameplay in general. The music is good because it's Touhou, and the gimmick is really good in this game. I can't think of any other specific things to talk about Touhou 6. I think it's just really the definition of an average Touhou game. And I'd like to point out, right after I talked about how I don't like Touhou 6 that much, we lost 2 viewers. Alright, moving on. Touhou 7, I think I'm also going to put in B tier. Well, above Touhou 6. We were just playing it on stream. What's much to say about Touhou 7? This hurts my soul. Oh, don't worry. There'll be a lot more games going about Touhou 6. I'll just let you know that now. What's there really to say about Touhou 7? It's for me. I'm not going to really hold this against it because it's mostly specifically for me. It's very laggy, and yeah, terrible balance, terrible shot type balance. Sakura 8 is really, really good, and the rest of the shot types are so far behind. There's often not that much of a reason to use anything other than Sakura, specifically for newcomers and specifically for survival. There's not much reason to use Sakura to use anything other than Sakura, other than that Marisare does a lot of damage, does a lot more damage. That's basically the only reason. If you're good at staying below enemies, you might want to use Marisare more. Just because she does more damage. But Sakura is just so broken because of the aim, shot types, and the fact that she has 4 fucking bombs. Like, I have no idea why Zun decided to balance it that way. Like, to give probably the best shot type anyway, the most bombs. It honestly, that amount of bombs, if you use your bombs smartly and you use bombs correctly, you pretty much, like, can never lose. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, this is something someone's tried. With Sakura A, using bombs, you can reach all the way up to halfway through the Yuyuko fight without moving whatsoever. I'm pretty sure. Like 4 bombs per life is just too insane. Also, it's a weird difficulty curve at stage 4. And, I mean, every Touhou game has a difficulty spike at stage 4. Imagine using things, yeah, but this is specifically for the argument of Sakurai broken. Every game has a spike at stage 4. The problem with stage 4 in Touhou 7 is that it's so long, I think. Like, it's ridiculously long. Additionally to that, the Yuko fight is insanely long too. It's the longest Touhou game by far. And that makes it more of an endurance battle, which gets a lot more iffy above normal mode. Because there's a huge difficulty spike between normal mode and hard mode, at least from what I've seen. Like, there's a gigantic spike in difficulty if you're not using Sakurai. So it's the most endurance heavy Touhou game, which I don't mind. Nice PODD above PCB, because I like PODD. I'd like it a good bit more than Touhou 6, but I wouldn't say it's enough to put it in A tier. The gimmick of the border is interesting in one sense, and that sense is that you get more border for playing unfocused, and it gives an actual realistic reason to use unfocused mode over focused mode a lot of the time. And I also like how it's basically just instant POC, like everything comes towards you when you have a border. The problem with the border is that it's literally just a free bomb. Similar to Touhou 10, free bomb, but worse in a sense, I think. No, it's probably better than Touhou 10's free bomb. The music of Touhou 7 is really, really nice, I think. Yeah, it's probably because thinking of POD from a music POV makes it look worse. True. Touhou 7, I love the music for Touhou 7, specifically Alice's theme, the Stage 4 theme. Basically, any song starting from Alice's theme onwards, I really like the soundtrack for it. That's really chill music, yeah. Except Necro Fantasy. Ran's theme is my least favourite song in the entire series, in my opinion. Not because I think it's bad, but because it's literally just like worse worse Necrophantasia. Anyway, and Necrophantasia has its issues anyway, being that it's too loud. Charming Domination, the second one in the Phantasm stage, is probably my second favourite song in this series. In this game, sorry. Yuko's theme is my favourite song. PCB has kind of a boring stage 4 boss, though. I think PCB's stage 4 boss is actually pretty interesting. In the sense that it's different for every character, you fight a different sister for every character. I like the concept of prison rivers a lot. Also the fact that in the first spell, the one you damage the most is the one that you fight next. There's a lot of different combinations for how the prison river fight can go because of that, and I think that makes the prison river fight really cool. Probably my favorite boss fight in the game, actually. I think, followed by Yuko, but again, Yuko's too long. The only thing that changes between characters is the first one. Feels like a reference to Yuki and Mai, kind of. Except Yuki and Mai is the one that you damage the least you fight, and this one's the one that you damage the most you fight. I don't think there's much else to say for PCB. We're playing the extra stage right now. daily over on my Twitch channel because I'm uploading to YouTube. Have to show my Twitch. So if you want to see me rage at Touhou extra stage, then there you go. I don't have much else to say about Touhou 7 really. Oh, one little thing. Actually, I really like the end of the Yuko fight. I like how it kind of fakes you out thinking you beat the boss, and then it goes to the final attack. But that only really works once. But I like the idea. Touhou 8 is my favourite of the I think I'll put it. Yeah, I'll put it there. And the story is good, yeah. And the characters it introduces are pretty good, being Yomu, Yuko, and of course the ever present in the overarching story Yukari. Touhou 7 introduced many important characters in the series, reintroduced Alice, did quite a lot for the series in the terms of characters, which is also a really good part. Touhou 8 is my favourite of the first Windows era, which is Touhou 6 to Touhou 9, or Touhou 9.5, but um, we're not doing side games in this tier list. It's easy as shit. It's probably the easiest Touhou game in my opinion, especially with Reimu Yukari. Um, personally I like to use Sakio and Amelia as my shot type for Iron. Yeah. It also introduced something I really like, but something I know is a bit controversial, is that it introduced the characters relating to the moon and the Lunarians. And I personally really like the idea of, and I personally really like the Lunarians of the moon. Yorihime and Toyohime not so much, but Iron and Kaguya are both in my top 4 favorite characters. So character wise, this game's definitely off from a strong foot. Gameplay wise, there's not much of a gimmick to this game that I can think of, other than the death bomb mechanic, which is honestly funny to me more than it helps because I still miss the extended death bomb last words. Like my reaction time is still so bad. I miss them consistently. You have like a second to click X, and I still miss it every single time. It's ridiculous. What about the familiar? Oh yeah. I forgot about that for a second. The familiars, I like the idea of familiars. That's the big gimmick of this game that I really like, and it's a gimmick that I feel a lot of people don't appreciate much because I feel like a lot of people are used to playing focus mode a lot in Touhou games, so they don't really play unfocused much. It's similar to Touhou 7's You Get More Border, except it's a lot more fleshed out. Like it's a lot more fleshed out. Essentially, with every shot type other than Marissa and Alice, the yokai form, the focus form, are the only ones that can collect that can POC under full power. That's not the main thing though. But IN has familiars, and the familiars can only be hurt by the human form, aka the unfocused mode. The familiars still shoot though at the yokais. So if you attack the familiars in human form, you remove extra enemies, remove the bullets, also have bullet cancel around them, and in general, it makes the actual shots a lot easier. It's very apparent in the Kaine fight. That's where it's the most apparent because I feel like a lot of people who don't use this gimmick and don't use human form, the human form gimmick to deal with familiars, find Kaine way harder than people who do. Mainly because obviously you can basically eliminate half the bullets Kaine shoots and her non-spells by using that gimmick. It's a pretty cool gimmick. It's one of my favourite Touhou gimmicks, I think. Probably my second favourite behind one that we'll get to later. That's the big gameplay gimmick of this game, and it's really good. I really like it. Yeah, the other gimmick is like it only really appears if you use continues. Specifically, the fact that the time, like if you it, the time and the fact that you can't go to safe if you've got too much time. But no matter what, if you don't use continues, you can still go there. Also, the last words I think is a really interesting thing that they added in. It's not that impactful. It's actually it doesn't impact the gameplay whatsoever. Um, but I like the last words to it. Has the most content on it, yep. And I like it personally. There's a lot of replay value in this game. There's a lot of the spells are really fun to dodge. In fact, my probably my favorite boss fight in the entire series is the Marissa fight in this game. I really, really enjoy fighting Marissa in Touhou 8. Like I've done stage 4 in Touhou 8 20 plus times in a row and not got bored of doing that fight and doing that stage. I love stage 4 of this game so much. Yeah, stage 4 is amazing. I don't like Reimu as much, the Reimu fight as much when you play as Marissa or Sakia or those guys. Also, the varying, yeah, the fact you chase the boss is really cool. Yeah, that's pretty enjoyable. Also, I mentioned this before in Touhou 2. Touhou 8's dialogue is amazing. I love the Touhou 8 dialogue. It has probably the best line in the entire series, being the bitch get out of the way line spoken by Marissa to the Reimu, which I love that bit so much. The dialogue in Touhou 8 really shines. Right. Introduces Alice's line, yep. Bitch get out of the way. Touhou 8 dialogue is amazing. The more I talk about this game, the more I want to play it here. Honestly, I can't think of any major downside that holds this game back from being S tier. The two different final bosses, yeah, choosing your final boss. I was about to mention that the two different final bosses are really cool. The only problem arises with that the fact that you have to fight Iron first and then you fight Canyon next. Um, should be above PODD. Yeah. The more I talked about it, the more I think it's an S tier game. It's a really enjoyable game. It's packed full of content. It's got amazing characters, amazing music. We haven't even talked about the music of this game. Holy shit! Um, I the music of Touhou 8 is so chill. It's so good. It's got the Love Colored Master Spark, one of the best songs in the series, I think. Just there is no bad song in this game. So himself said he went a little bit too far with this game. Yeah, he did go really far with this game, but I think it worked out really well. I'm also debating to do this. I'm not sure which way. Yeah, sure. We'll put Touhou 8 above Touhou 5. It's just packed full of content. It's packed full of good content that I like, and it's got amazing music, amazing character instructions, pretty good gimmick. Um, that's actually a good time to mention. I'm not going to talk about extras that much in this tier list because I've not played a lot of them. The only ones I've played is 4's extra, 7's extra, and 10's extra. Those are the only extra stages I've actually played a good amount of. So I don't really want to go into the extras particularly much. I am was also the first to add spell practice. Yeah, true. Actually, that's something that reminds me of something I'd like to add on to Touhou 6. I think it's got it added practice mode, and practice mode is a really good thing for this series. So yeah, I feel IN in top of Esther is definitely the right way to go. Touhou 9 I've never played it, but I've heard that is literally just like Touhou 3 but worse. But I've actually never played this game. I might um do this. I've never played Touhou 9 before. Touhou 9 is okay. Yeah. I've seen bits of it and I've heard about bits of it. Is that most of what I've heard is that it's just worse Touhou 3. Is what is the general opinion. Like, from what I've seen and what I've heard, I think it will probably be here if I had to rank it. But I've not played it, so I can't really rank it that well. My OCD is telling me to put colour on this. Yeah. You have to beat the game a million times to be able to catch it. I never knew that. Do you actually? Yeah, I've never played Touhou 9, so I can't speak on it. Now we're going into, I guess, my favourite era of the Touhou, which is the Touhou 2 era, which is a Mountain of Faith up to 10 Desires. Yeah, okay. You have to beat the game with every character. That sounds god awful. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough. But it still sounds pretty. Yeah. My favorite era of Touhou is the Touhou Windows 2 era, which is Touhou 10 up to Touhou 13. I like all of these games. This game is Mountain of Fate is probably going here. I could put it. I could put this and PODD in any order. I think. I enjoy Touhou 10. Yeah. I really enjoyed Touhou 10. I think this is where the game's started to feel a lot less clunky to me. Although Touhou 10 does have its issues in that regard. It feels like there's quite a bit of input delay in Touhou 10. It does feel a bit unfinished. It feels like there's quite a bit of input delay, at least from what I've played. But I enjoy it. There isn't much of a gimmick to Touhou 10. The main gimmick is that you can go up to 5 power, but power bombing. Actually, no, that's the gimmick of Touhou 10. But it was also in Touhou 11. Same bomb with every character. Yeah, I don't like that much. But I think the way they did bombs is kind of interesting in Touhou 10. Power bombing is interesting, and I kind of like it, but not in Touhou 10. Specifically because of the 5 power system. In the sense that your shot type maxes out at 4 power, but you can go to 5 power and you get a free bomb from that 5 power basically. And the stage 4 boss doesn't change at all, really. Yeah, but I'm not going to hold that against it much. But it is something that's in basically every other game except like Touhou 12 and 13. Um, I just enjoy playing it. Oh yeah, we should talk about Marissa Bug. Um, Probably the funniest bug in the entire game, in the entire series, I think. It's a um for anyone who doesn't know what Marissa Bug is on YouTube, um, essentially at 3 power, unfocused, Marissa's middle laser does 10 times the damage it was meant to due to an error in the code. And because of that, she literally melts bosses. I'm pretty sure Marissa B can kill the first boss in less than definitely in less than 10 seconds, around 5 seconds. It's a pretty insane bug, but it's also really funny because it makes the game so much easier, and it's so ridiculous to see the health bar melt. It's basically like using Total 7 Marissa B's bomb on Prism Rivers, except all the time. Yeah, someone added another 0 to the coding. It was meant to do 3 damage a frame, but it does 30 damage a frame instead. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Marissa B is like LS Marissa A, but way better. Um, Although even alright, let's just treat Marissa Bugged as if it doesn't exist. Shot types are still pretty unbalanced in Touhou 10. Like Marissa A, not Marissa A, sorry. Reimu A and Reimu B are so much better than every other shot type in Touhou 10. It's ridiculous. Reimu A is the best for sages. Reimu B is the best for bosses, excluding Marissa Bug. There's like not much of a reason to use any other shot type. I find pretending Marissa Bug doesn't exist, which Marissa Bug is mostly just a meme shot type. I think. What else is there about this game? Oh yeah, the Marissa C is actually not bad at all. I've actually not used Marissa C. I've not seen Marissa C much at all. Actually, I'll try it if you route. I don't know. I'll try it maybe. Um, what else is there in this game? Because everyone uses Rainbow. I think everyone uses either Rainbow A or Rainbow B. I use Rainbow B personally because other than Marissa Bugged, it does the most damage and it's pretty good. Marissa C has great damage. Yeah. This game has one of my favorite casts. Yeah, it introduced the Moria Shrine Gang, Suako, Kanako, Sane. It's pretty good. Didn't introduce Aya. I was about to say introduce Aya, but Touhou 9 did that. It's just Touhou 10 was the first time I ever saw Aya because I've not played Touhou 9. I don't like Nitori that much. I do like Momiji, even though she like basically never talks. How can you not like Green Reimu? Eh, Sunny's alright. Kanaka's probably my favourite from Moria Shrine Gangler. Also, speaking of Kanako, story. Shoot the Bullet also had Aya before MOF, yeah. The story of Touhou 10, and specifically Kanako, how it influences everything else in the Touhou Windows 2 era. Yeah, I've read Forbidden Story and I've read parts of Wild and Horned Hermit. Oh, it's like basically all the Touhou manga I've read. Oh, and I've read Lotus Eaters as much as there is to it, and I've read Detective Story as much as there is of it. Um, Touhou 10's Kaneko influenced everything else, all of these three games, which I really, really love about this era of the games. How all the games are connected. They're all connected through the story, which is nothing else. I'm pretty sure the only other games that do that are 14.5 and 15 in a sense. And that sense is that Sagame influenced 14.5. That's the only other time I can think of that really happening. But yeah, the fact that this kickstarted the story arc of all these games, I really love, and that's why I really like Kaneko as a character. How she basically she's the figurehead, and in a sense, in a way, the main antagonist of basically four games of an entire story arc of the series. I love that fact about Touhou 10 and Kaneko. 1 and 2 are connected, yeah, but who cares? What else to say about Touhou 10? Music. Music. I always forget about that one. I love Touhou, yeah, iconic soundtrack. The Game Over theme I'm pretty sure every single Touhou game past this point is influenced by Kaneko's theme, including in this game. Kaneko's theme is probably one of, if not my favorite final boss theme. Of course, there's the Gensokyo. Oh, what the fuck was it called? The Gensokyo Even the Gods Loved. The Stage 3 theme. Also, Fall of Fall, beautiful song. Primal Scene of Japan, the Stage 5 theme, beautiful song. So many, so many, so many beautiful songs in this game. So many amazing songs in this game. One of my favorite soundtracks for sure. Yeah, the Gensokyo the Gods Loved. Easily one of my favorite soundtracks, I think. I don't think there's much else to say on Touhou 10. Anyway, there's one tier that has nothing in it, and let's change that now. Touhou 11 is arguably my favorite game in the series. There is one other game that's going in this tier, but I'm not sure which one I like more. And I think the more I talk, the more I'll find which one I like more. Touhou 11, specifically on normal mode, I think is by far the hardest game. Arguably my favorite, yeah. We'll get to the other game that's S plus tier. Who are you arguing with yourself? True. True. Um, it also has power bonding mechanic, but I think in Touhou 11 it's done much, much better in the sense that you don't get a free bomb. People either really like it or hate it, yeah, and I really like it. You don't get a free bomb in Touhou 11. It does have its drawbacks in the fact that the more you bomb, the weaker you get, the harder stuff gets to kill, the more bombs you need to use. It does have a kind of loop in that sense, which is kind of annoying, but uh, yeah, it punishes you for messing up. It's the most punishing game by far. I think it's the most punishing Touhou game, and I like that. I like the difficulty of this game. The only thing about the difficulty I'd say is a bit of a drawback is the fact that Utsuho and Stage 6 in general are so much easier than Stage 5 and Ring. At least for me. Stage 5 is the hardest stage in the series, I think, of Touhou 11. Um, Also, probably one of my favourite stages. Although this game does have my single favourite stage in Stage 4. Let's talk about the shot types of this game, I suppose. This technically, and this is a technicality, Touhou 11 technically has the most balanced shot types in the series, but it's balanced in the sense that they're all shit. At least from what I've experienced. But all of them, all of the shot types highlight the specific the specific gimmick related to that shot type. Like Reimu A teleports. I don't know what Reimu B does, if I'm being honest. I know it's the homing one, and I know it sucks. Reimu C, very speedy. Uh, you can lock the shot types. It's got a 360 shot type. Marissa A, it's got the 8 power, so you get more bombs, you lose less on a bomb. Because you just go from 8 power to 7, which is a lot worse than which is a lot better than going from 4 to 3 when you bomb. So you get more bombs as Marissa A, and all that stuff. And also the fact that it's also got spread and then aimed. Reimu B is lit. Marissa B has literally, isn't it, 5 different shot types mixed into one shot type, which is amazing. It's really unique. And then the main gimmick for Marissa C, I believe, is that it's a bomb shield. The fact that the bomb is a shield rather than just an actual bomb. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they all have their own gimmicks, and because of how bad they all highlight their specific gimmicks that well. It's mainly because Raymond is so OP. Yeah. Raymond is the best shot type. Marissa B is probably the best. It's probably the second best, and then Marissa A, I'm pretty sure, is the order that people go with. But the fact that they're all unique, and the fact that they all have the specifically highlight their own uniqueness in the shot types, I really love about the shot types about this game. Even if they're all kind of bad. Also, character wise, this introduced my top two favorite characters. My number one favorite character being Satori, number two being Grin. So I have a lot of bias towards the characters, and I love Utsuho as well. I love Koishi. I like Yamame. I like Parsi. I like all the characters in Tower 11. Like, they all really stand out to me, and I love all of them. So I have a lot of bias towards the characters and the cast of Touhou 11. The music, though, the music is one thing. Incredible soundtrack. You see, I was going to say the opposite. The music doesn't stand out as that much to me in Touhou 11. Which is a shame because it's one of my favourite games. It has some really good songs. Specifically, Lullaby of a Deserted Hell is my single favourite song in the entire series. Yeah. Um, I don't fucking like because SAST is lit. You see, it might just be because this is the game I've played the most. This is the Touhou game I've played the most, and as such, um, it's kind of mellowed out for me a bit. But Touhou's theme is good. Satori's theme, even though Satori's my favorite character, I don't like it as much as a lot of people overdo. But it's still good. Last Summer's good. Lullaby of the Deserted Hell is good. I Every other song in the game doesn't stand out to me that much. I like Rin's theme too. But other than that, the soundtrack is really mellowed out for me, and I feel it's kind of bland. But that's probably because I've played it the most. You've played LOS for ages, and I still don't get tired of Asmestra. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like Touhou 11 soundtrack. It doesn't stand out as much to me as like Touhou 10, Touhou 7, Touhou 8. Doesn't stand out as much to me. Are very distinctive to you. Mm. Uniquely melancholy. Yeah. I mean, they're not bad songs. Don't get me wrong. They're not like. It's still Touhou music. It's still amazing. It's still. I still love the soundtrack. But relative to all the other Touhou games, I don't like it as much. Um, but yeah, this introduces some of my favorite characters. Stage 4 is my single favorite stage in the entire series. I like Stage 5 even if it's frustrating as hell. Literally frustrating as hell. Um, oh, Satori's fight. How could I forget my favorite character's boss fight? Correct me if I'm wrong. Satori's fight is the most changed fight depending on shot type in the entire series, which is really, really good. Favorite game you still haven't played yet? True. But I've heard horror stories about Touhou 11 Extra, if I'm being honest, so I'm avoiding it for now. Doesn't Touhou 11 actually also have a weird difficulty level thing where normal and hard mode are very, very similar? In the sense that normal is like a hard mode, not that hard mode is like normal mode. SA's Extra is one of the easiest. I've heard a lot of horror stories about it, if I'm being honest. It's just memorization hell, maybe. Yeah, I think it's just very divisive, but I've not played it. Probably similar to SOEW's Extra. We haven't talked about the life piece system, actually. The fact that if you don't die to an attack, you get a free life piece. I know Ban said earlier that he doesn't like it, but I do like it, except on the extra stage. Uh, I think on the extra stage it kind of sucks, but in the actual like full game, it's pretty interesting. You can get quite a few life pieces. I'm pretty sure. Like the resources aren't that limited in this game, as a lot of people tend to say they are. Uh, but you do have it rewards you getting better, and it more so it does provide some sort of a visual clue as to you getting better. You can get up to 6 lives getting out of stage 3, yeah, which is pretty good, I think. It's not as bad as a certain other games' resources, but yeah, I actually really like the life piece system. But I'm pretty sure that's a controversial opinion, but I like it. It also provides for a new player a visual identity because you can see as you're getting better at the game, you get more life pieces, which is interesting. I think it has a sort of progression where as you get better earlier on, you can practice more and get better at the later on stuff. It's the perfect mechanic to no bomb, yeah. Where is there anything else I want to say about SA other than that I love this game to death? TD is only good if you have is only good for having easy LNN. Well, going straight from one game I really love to another, the game that is rivaling Touhou 11 for me in S plus tier is Touhou 12, which I think is a very controversial take and a very uh, underrepresented game. I've heard a lot of people shit on this game a lot. SA and UFO seem to be some of the most polarizing, yeah, and they're my two favorite Touhou games by far. I think UFO is the most controversial game in the series. I loved UFO right from the beginning, so did I, honestly. Um, the biggest thing I think we need to talk about with UFO is the UFOs themselves, the UFO system. I initially really, really hated the system. For those who don't know, specific UFOs show up, they change colors, and you can get more lives and bombs based on them. That's how you get more lives and bombs in this game. Yeah. I used to hate the UFO system, and then as I gradually started playing, I began to love it and love it and love it and love it more. Essentially, it can get to the point where the resources in this game are so ridiculous, you can leave stage 3 with a full livestock and quite a few bombs, I'm pretty sure. UFOs like WBAD, WC done good. I don't really have an opinion, and I only played stage 1. Yeah. I initially didn't like it, but as I started to play it more, it started to grow on me more a lot. To where UFO mechanic right now is my favorite mechanic in the entire series, even more so than the familiars of IN. I think I like the management of it and the fact that it kind of, in a way, not necessarily greatly, but it forces you to go to specific points in the screen to collect the UFOs, and you want to collect the UFOs to get the resources because it's the only way, other than being dropped by some mini bosses and some bosses, to get life pieces and bomb pieces. Which I think is a very under talked about aspect of the UFO system. The fact that it actually forces you to go to specific points to collect them. And it provides more of a dynamic feeling to Touhou 12. And the shot size is pretty balanced, so yeah. I beat it using homing Reimu, except for Marissa B. Yeah. Sane B, I believe, is a frog one. And I think people say it's the best, but I'm pretty sure it's only the best if you get good at point blanking. But it seems pretty broken with point blanking. I beat it with homing Reimu, which I think is Reimu B in this game. I think Reimu A is the needles. Because I'm used to A being homing and B being needles for Reimu, but I think it's the other way around in this game. Sanya B is considered the best, yeah. Um, Also, I mentioned this a bit earlier. I forget which game I mentioned it on. Oh, I mentioned it on Touhou 5, Pachinki. Byakuren is one of my favorite bosses, potentially my single favorite boss in the entire series. I don't know, something about Makai and the final bosses just that's the wrong game. Something about Makai and the final bosses really resonate with me, I guess. The music, we'll talk about the music a bit later. I have a lot to say about the music for this game, but the music and the atmosphere and the backgrounds as well. Another game that makes really good use of backgrounds. Again, something about Mackay. It just adds such a level to this fight. It is also probably the hardest final boss in the series, excluding PODD and POFV. I did that the opposite way around. But it's probably the hardest boss fight in the final boss fight in the series. Except Junko, I guess. Junko's probably the harder. It's the hardest fair final boss fight in the entire series. It's an amazing fight. Yeah, the story as well. How it directly comes off Touhou 11 and Touhou 12. Touhou 12 directly comes off Touhou 11. The guys that spout some out and they go save Yokai Jesus. I love it. I really love it. It's just Junko just pixel perfect Michael Jackson dodging RNG bullshit, yeah. Oh, we'll get to Touhou 15. We'll get to Touhou 15, alright. I guess what else is there to say? UFO mechanic, the gameplay, the boss fights, I think in Touhou 12, I like all of the boss fights, including Show, which I think is a pretty controversial take. Even with the curvy laser stuff, I enjoy the Show fight. Maybe just because of the backgrounds and the... Oh god. Maybe just because of the backgrounds and the soundtrack, but the Show fight, the Byakuran fight, the Murasa fight, I love all of the boss fights in this game. It's really... I really love it. Well, let's talk about it in the soundtrack now. The boss fights are really good, yeah. You didn't even talk about Cheetos in 5. Oh, yeah. We don't need to talk about the Cheetos in 5 pound. Contrary to my controversial take on 11's soundtrack, Touhou 12 is my single favourite soundtrack in the entire series. There is not one single song that is anything less than excellent for me in this game. I for sure, I listen to Touhou 12 soundtrack way, way, way more than any other soundtrack in the entire series. It's got amazing music. I think most can agree 12 has the best OST. I've not actually heard that opinion much. I haven't heard that opinion much, but I would list my favourite soundtracks, but it's like all of them. I'll be here listing every single song in this game. I love every song. Although, if I had to point to some I really like, basically, Sky Ruin shot way up there into my top 5 favourite songs of the entire series. Captain Muraso, I love. Stage 4 theme, I love. Stage 5 theme, I love. Byakuran's theme, of course. Just every song in this game is stellar. Absolutely stands out. So now comes where I have to decide which one I like more. The more I talk, I think I prefer it like this. Touhou 11 has my favourite gameplay in the series, but the full package of Touhou 12 is just amazing to me. And I think just rating the full package, I think Touhou 12 is better. But Touhou 11 has my favourite gameplay, specifically. I think UFO is my favourite game in the series. Although 11 is very close by, because it has my favourite gameplay. And introduced my favourite character, so bias. Yeah, true. But Touhou 12 has my favourite game soundtrack for sure. Again, something about Mackay. Something about Mackay just has amazing backgrounds, amazing atmosphere, amazing final bosses. We need more Mackay games then. Give more Mackay games. That's the takeaway here. Anyway, before we get onto Byakuran also references Shinki. Yeah, this Devil's Resuscitation, I think, is the main thing that references. So, Uh, Touhou 13 is in beta, but the question is where. So we'll just talk and then I'll decide. Big issue with 13. Well, I've already kind of hinted at two issues I have with 13 when we were talking about both 4 and the fact that we'll start with this one. Resources. I feel like 10 Desires has the most stingy resources in the entire series. You get like nothing. Like you get no resources in this game. But it is also easy to compound off that, so it's not too bad. Sorry. Weird quick drink. Not too terrible. Because of the easiness of the game. But I don't even find it that easy personally, actually. It's a weird game. Yeah, it has one of the worst mechanics for survival. But we'll get to that. The resources, just like it feels like they don't exist half the time. It's really stingy, and I don't like it. Like it's not doesn't take away from the survival portion too much because of the fact that the game's not too bad. I feel pretty comfortable doing this. It's not too bad to beat, but it does compound to my other issue with the game, in that if you can get good at stages 3, the stage 3 boss, stage 4, and the stage 4 boss, if you can get good at those bits, then you basically beat the entire game. From my experience, at least. From my experience, the one time in normal mode, the one time I did well on the Sega fight is the same time I actually beat the game. So a lot of the difficulty of this game and a lot of the the difficulty of that part also compounds later on where you have less resources for Miko and Futo. But the difficulty I feel is very concentrated towards that bit of the game, as opposed to being more of a curve, more spread out, more yeah. I feel like it's more concentrated, and I don't like concentrated difficulty in these games. Talking too much of Corona, I need a drink. Okay. Those are my two biggest issues with Tender's Eyes, I think. Um, the gimmick of Tender's Eyes, the spirit system sucks dick. Literally. There's. I honestly don't even understand it myself. Essentially, the fact. Oh, and trance and spirits. I don't like them. I don't know anybody who does like them, honestly. Basic, and also it's what contributes to the problem of the resources in this game that I have. The spirit system, basically, the way you get bombs and lives is from spirits that enemies drop, and if you use trance, um, you get them. You get double the bomb and lives. So it basically becomes a game about knowing when to use your trance to get the most resources to lower the resource issue to beat the game. Um, which I like the puzzle element in that sense, but I don't think it works well. The biggest fix for the trance system is to just be able to use trance at any time other than when you're at full trance, I think. Because you can only activate full trance yourself when you're at all 3 of the trance bars filled up, or trance things filled up. That's the only time you activate yourself, and it automatically activates on death. Which I like the automatic activate on death, but I wish you could activate it yourself. In I wish you could activate it yourself outside of being at full trance. I think those are my big issues with the game. Um, yeah, we'll get to okay. We'll get to okay. Um, those are my big issues with Ten Desires, and I feel like for me personally, it does actually hold the game back a bit. The shot types in Ten Desires are actually quite balanced though, except for like Sane is pretty much significantly worse, not significantly, but noticeably worse than the other three, I believe. But really balanced shot types, Ten Desires is one thing it does have going for it. I like the soundtrack of Ten Desires as well, except Ghost Lead. I don't like Ghost Lead whatsoever. I hate that song. Maybe maybe because I'm comparing it to Ink Black Cherry Blossoms, which is obviously one of the best songs in the entire series, my opinion. It has your favorite stage one. It's up there, I think. It's in my top half of favorites, but I think UFO is my favorite stage one. Or oh no, IN has my favorite stage one. Touhou 8 is my favorite stage one. Um, but on the soundtrack though, Miko's theme is really underrated, I think, and the entire Miko fight, I think, is probably my single favorite part of this game, because it's such a different kind of boss fight to what we're used to from the Toho series. Like the final bosses tend to be bombastic. The final bosses tend to be very loud music, very intense. But with Miko's boss fight is a lot more chilled out. It's a lot more, yeah, it's a lot more chill. It's a lot more calming. I could fight Miko, similar to how I could fight Marissa from IN multiple times and not get bored of it. It's just a calming fight. It's such a different boss fight, and it's one of my favorite bosses. It is a very comfy game, but when trying to play it, like seriously trying to get survival, trying to get 1CCs, I feel like it can be quite frustrating with the resource management and stuff for the game. But in general, the soundtrack I think is really good. Desire Drive, Miko's theme, um, any song in stage four, any song in both the songs in stage five. Also, the two extra songs. The extra stage theme not as much, but Mamizu's theme is really really good. I feel like the soundtrack of Ten Desires I do like. It's probably my least favorite soundtrack in the Windows 2 era, but it's definitely up there still. The characters that introduced, I love Miko, I love Futo. Um, I like that's about it, really. I don't, other than obviously Yuko, but Yuko was introduced in Toho 7, so I'll attribute Yuko's character to the Toho 7 game as opposed to Toho 13. Mamizu is a great theme. Yep. The Mamizu, I've played a bit of Tender's Eyes Extra actually, not a lot, not enough to really form an opinion on it as I have with 7, 4, and 10. But I've played a bit of it and I like Mamizu. The Mamizu Extra Boss is pretty good and her theme is great. God, I lost track of thought. Oh yeah, characters. I like Futo. I like um Miko, but that's it. Oh, Sega's okay. Sega's bit in Roland Horn Hermit kind of increased my opinion of her character quite a bit. But that's really about it for the introduced characters of Final 13. Kyoko doesn't really do much. I don't like the zombie girl, whatever the fuck her name is, Yoshika. Sega's okay. I love Futo, I love Miko. Mamizu. I would like Mamizu if she wasn't so prominent in the mangas. Like, I'm fine with her being a main character for being Scrollery. I think that's really cool. Um, but in general, I feel like she got so much content around this release, it kind of got grating a bit, as opposed to like more Futo, more even Miko. Although Miko did get Symposium, she had articles in the Symposium. which was pretty cool. Same with Byakuran and Kamiko as well. I feel like Mamizu just got too much content, but I like her as a character. I just wish I could see more of the other characters in 13. Characters that appear in the mangas make me like them more. Yeah, same. Like Kosuzu is in my top 10 favorites. I really like Akio. But the issue is, I feel like I've seen so much of Mamizu where I'd like to see more of Miko and I'd like to see more of Futo and those kind of characters. But I do really like Mamizu. I don't want to take that away from her. I just wish we got more of the characters from this game because I feel like we didn't get enough outside of like Miko and the fighters and Mamizu in the mangas. Not a lot of them really got much development. Not a lot of them really appeared much for me to form a opinion on them. Form an opinion on them. Was there anything else to talk about with TD? I don't think so. I think putting it here, pretty fine. Kazan is also one of my favorites. I think she's also in the top 10. Maybe because she reminds me of Satori. And Satori is my favorite character. I don't have much else to say for 10 Desires. First mainly going to have Circle Health Bars. True. Yeah, true. Which, yeah, I think Circle Health Bars are better because it's easier to see the health bars and easier to see when the next phase is about to start, as opposed to health bars at the top. So Circle Health Bars are better, but it's not really. It's not a huge thing that's going to really make me do this. I think I'm pretty confident in having it this way around. Touhou 14, for me, is the most bang average Touhou game in the entire series. Although maybe that's because I've not played it that much. But for me, it's the most average game in the series. It's the most broken game, too. That YouTube video about how how DDC is broken is really good. I think they did one on LolK as well, but it's and HSI HSI. DDC is either you love it or hate it. I'm really right in the middle. I find it to be the most average Toho game. I think I like it more than 6 because I don't like 6 that much. But yeah, I wouldn't put it any higher than this. But it's easily the most broken game. Oh, basically every shot type has something that's abusable in it, other than Flamethrower Marissa. Because Flamethrower Marissa is so bad, her Flamethrower doesn't even reach the top of the screen. It's ridiculous. Worst and best shot types in the whole series, yeah. Like the Gohei with Reimu can be abused by just spamming shift. Sakura A, of course, broken, slows down the enemies, less bullets. Insane. Sakura B is so bad only one guy got an L and N with her. Yeah. I feel like Gohei Reimu and Sakura A are such a step above the other shot types in the game. It's kind of insane. DDC more like break your shift key, yeah. Um Also, what's the gimmick for it? I know it has the gimmick of how you get of how to get life pieces and bomb pieces. How does it work? Like I've never actually really looked into how it works. I've beaten the game, but I don't think I've ever bothered to really learn how it works. So I don't even know what the gimmick for this game is. You're playing Marissa and Alice and you're breaking your shift key, yeah. 14 and Malice Cannon are the break your shift key shot types, pretty much. You POC, and depending on the amount you collect, it gives you bombs or life pieces. Oh, yeah, right. I like that. I like that idea as a gimmick to make you go up to POC, make you go up to the top of the screen more. Similar to how I like the fact that the UFOs force you to different points of the screen. DDC does the same, I guess. Get a 2.0 and it's a life piece, and every 5 bomb pieces you get a life piece. Good gimmick, yeah. It's a pretty good gimmick. Um, but again, it just didn't stand out for me. Similar to 206, I guess. It just doesn't stand out to me, but it has a good gimmick, but it doesn't stand out enough for me as a game. Bad Stage 5 boss gimmick, though. The Stage 5 boss gimmick is so bad. Sages, I really dislike the Sager fight. I think I liked the inversing controls in spell cards 1 and 2. And then spell card 3 doesn't do anything. Then spell card 4 hits, and it's just ridiculous. Like, the way it flips your screen, you can't see what's going on. Oftentimes, feels like it might as well just be a forced death or forced bomb. Like, you can't see what's even happening. And then your controls get inverted, and then you just get fucked. And it happens in the middle of, like, the most dense part of the attack sometimes. Um, I guess the dialogue is okay. I like the dialogue between Sakio and Kaguro quite a bit. That's pretty funny dialogue. So I guess the dialogue is alright of this game. The gameplay has the single worst card of a final boss in the series. I'm not even going to mention it because I think anyone who's played this game knows that spell card. Really, that spell card so frustrating to me that it actually lowers my opinion of the game and lowers my opinion of that boss fight. Because otherwise, I would like the gimmick of that final boss if it weren't for that specific spell card. You grow bigger, indeed. But yeah, I do like the gimmick of the final boss. Uh, there's a lot of stuff I like about this game, a lot of stuff I don't like about this game. One thing I do like about this game is the soundtrack. I like the Total 14 soundtrack, and I don't see it talked about that much. It's got some really good songs. It's got Kaguro's boss theme, really good. Um, it's got Stage 4's theme, Stage 4's boss theme, Sage's theme. I like Sage's theme. Um, the final boss theme, for me, I think the final boss theme is average for this game, but the average of final boss themes for Touhou is still amazing. So, also, Thunderclouds of Magical Power is a really great song. The extra stage theme. I love the soundtrack of this game. There's a lot I love about this game. There's a lot I hate about this game. As such, it ends up being average for me. So it kind of balances out and it becomes average. But it's still a fun game to play. I still really like it. It's not as bad as these two, and not as bad as this one. But yeah, the fact that it's a very love hate relationship, and it ends up dead average for me. Don't like the early game? I think the early game's fine. It's not like an amazing early game. Stage 1 and 2 are kind of boring. I think Stage 1 is boring. I think the Stage 2 boss, I think Sekibanki's boss fight is where the game starts to get a bit more interesting. But yeah, I can agree that the early game can be a bit boring sometimes. Okay, so moving on. Touhou 15 is the game I have played the least in the series. Not because of any specific reason, other than that I really, 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 really hate it. Yeah. Well, okay, in my opinion, is one of the best games. This game might actually be more polarizing than UFO, I think. More love it or hate it than UFO, but I lean much more towards the end of hating it. Point device makes you hate it, yeah. It's overall, I think, overall by far the hardest game in the series. If you're not using Sane or Raisin, but it's the hardest game in a very unbalanced sense. Yeah, it's It's a ridiculous game. People should give it another chance. I will be giving it another chance eventually because I want to go through every game, um, stream every game eventually. Maybe except like Touhou 1. I don't know. But this is what I'm not looking forward to. This is the only game on this list that I haven't normal 1CC'd other than Touhou 9. Simply because I didn't like it that much that I just gave up on it. So obviously the gimmick is point device mode. And point device mode sucks. And of course the facts that um the powers and the points slow down as you graze, and also grazing and chapters. It's interesting in theory. Like, I find it pretty interesting. It's similar to UFO in the sense that the game's hard, but it gives you a lot of resources for being good. But I think it's just done a lot worse in LOL-K. And I honestly can't explain why. It just really didn't resonate with me that much. I mean, I wouldn't mind putting it in C tier. It's definitely not there. It's between here and here, I think. It's either better than Touhou 2 or it's worse than Touhou 2. Really, it's one of these two positions. But I'll keep it there for now for clickbait thumbnails. Um, it's the most ridiculous game in the sense that there's so much in this game. Just look at the Junko fight, right? That's the most egregious example of this. The Junko final boss fight. As a wise man once said, it's just pixel perfect RNG bullshit. What was it? Pixel perfect micro dodging RNG bullshit. Please don't pull hard equals bad. I'm not. I mean, let's just play it this way. 15, 12, and 11 are considered the three hardest games in the series, I'm pretty sure. 12 and 11 are in S plus tier. So, but I think 12 and 11 are hard in a rewarding and hard in a. For me personally, 12 and 11 are hard in a very rewarding and very fair way. And from my experience with 15, it's not. It's very different to that. It's just, it feels a lot more frustrating. And it's not even that hard if you use Sane. It completely depends on your shot type. Sane can just bomb spam, graze everything, get a bunch of resources, and just bomb spam through the game. Raisin can do a similar thing because of the fact that her one bomb is basically just 3 lives. It has easily the most unbalanced shot types because two shot types break the game in half, and the other two, the game is just ridiculously hard. The game is actually hard because of the patterns. Yeah, true. But it doesn't matter when two of the shot types can just bomb spam through them anyway. And the other two shot types there's no real reason to use unless you're just like hardcore player. Yeah. Well, okay with Raimi and Marissa is ridiculous, and then with Sunny and Raisin it just breaks the game in half. Just because their bombs are so ridiculously broken. I'll put it here. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt because again I've not played it that much. Actually, no, I'll put it there. I'll put it there. just to give it a bit of a benefit of the doubt, because I've not played it that much, maybe when I play it on stream later down the line, it might grow on me. Like, I feel like there's potential for it to grow on me and maybe go as high as, like, there, possibly. But right now, this is how I feel about it. It's the game I played the least. If you do no bombs, the game becomes really balanced. HRTB is better than Lorca. Yeah, I've not played enough about Lorca to really make a solid opinion on it, but this is where my opinion stands. But one thing about Lorca is the music. Second best soundtrack in the entire series, in my opinion, behind UFO. Just the soundtrack is such a banger for Touhou 15, I think. All the songs are really, really, really amazing. Either really chill near the start of the game. Really well done. Sagame's theme is in my top 3 favourites. Lorca's OST is amazing. That is the one thing that no matter what, I will not take away from this game. The OST is the second best in the series, in my opinion. Best stage 6 for sure. And maybe playing it more, I might like it more than UFO soundtrack, although that's a bit that's to be determined, I suppose. But yeah, Sagame's theme is in my top 3 favorites already. Clown Piece's theme, just all the songs in this game are amazing. It's really knocked out of the park with the soundtrack for this game. Well, KSS for you, yeah, it's a very polarizing game. I feel like it's either S tier, S plus S tier, or CD tier. I feel like there's very, very few people who would actually play in like these two middle tiers. I think for most people it's either S or higher or C or lower. And there's no in between for low K. I've not seen a single person say low K is average or put it in between those two opinions. Ooh, need a drink. Okay. Two more games, but one of them isn't on this tier list. 16. I don't like it. Also, the cast. The cast of 15. We'll put that down. Oh, I can't play it down there. The cast of 15. Yeah. Cast is pretty good. I don't like Seiran and Ringo. Everyone else is pretty good. 16 is saved by Okina for me. I really like Okina. I think at one point I would have put it there. But as I played it more, it slowly became more and more like around this point. Maybe worse than EOSD, I'm not sure. I'll have to see. Sad Junko backstory, yeah. Junko's backstory is definitely one of the most fleshed out backstories, one of the most sad backstories for sure. And not a lot of solo characters actually have backstories like that, especially to that degree. This is one thing I can praise Junko for, but fuck that boss fight. 16. The shot type gimmick is really good. A shame that the winter version is broken and the spring version is also really, really good. I believe almost every single sub shot in this game has something that's broken about it, or something that doesn't work properly about it. Easiest early game into one of the hardest late games, yeah. I'd recommend the YouTube video HSIFS is broken because it really is. Also, yeah, I like the idea of the shot sets in this game. The shot sets, having the main shot and the sub shot, I do like that. Um, yeah, I love the shot system. The shot system is really good. Also, I guess it's technically a gimmick. The backdoor gimmick, I don't like it. It could have been done a lot better. Having bullets come up from behind you makes it more interesting to dodge, more varied dodging styles. because not a lot of attacks outside of Touhou 16 really have attacks that come up behind you. I wish it was done a bit better, mainly in the fact that there's not much of a warning, although it does reward you for not bottom hugging. Mainly in stages 5 and 6. There's not much before stage 5 and 6 that really comes up behind you. Speaking of stage 6, the Okina fight, specifically the final Okina attack, if it was more balanced, would definitely go in favor of this game, I think. If it was more balanced. It's not. Because the spring one is ridiculously overpowered, ridiculously strong. And if I remember correctly, it's the summer one that's also really hard. The autumn one is fairly, okay, fairly easy, and the winter one is alright. I mean, the autumn one isn't easy, but it's compared to the others, it's alright, and then the winter one's alright as well. And because of the fact that it strips you of all your power, it becomes like an actual. Similar to Touhou 11 with Satori, it becomes an actual thing to consider when you're doing shot types. Like, do you want to pick a spring sub shot and have to deal with the spring final? Or do you want to pick something else and have to deal with a different final? Which I do like, but it's just so horribly unbalanced. The final is so horribly unbalanced for me. We said DDC had a boring early game, but I feel like this game probably has the more boring one. Like, the game just doesn't really get interesting until the third boss, I think. Similar to DDC, but worse. I find HSIFS early game a lot more boring than Touhou 14 for me personally. Although stage 1 theme being as good as it is does kind of save the early game because it's such a relaxing song. If you use releases, you just spam them. Yeah, you can spam releases as well. I feel like the game actually starts at stage 5. I would say for this game starts at stage 4, personally. For me, I feel a huge difficulty spike at stage 4 in Touhou 16. But yeah, the gimmick I think the Zone was going for with this game being the backdoor idea that things come up behind you really only starts at stage 5, which I think is kind of a shame. I wish it was more prevalent. It would make more varying patterns more interesting to dodge, I think. The more I talk, the more I want to do this, I think. Also, the art improved. Yeah, the art really improved in this game. Like, Zun really got better with the art for HSIFS. The soundtrack as well is really good. Not as stellar as UFO Lolk, but definitely really love the soundtrack of this game. Okina's final boss theme is my favorite boss theme in the entire series. My favorite song is Lullaby of a Deserted Hell, but the Concealed Four Seasons is my favorite boss theme and my second favorite song in the series. And in general, the soundtrack I think is really chill towards the start, and then it gets a lot better, improves a lot. Crazy Backup Dancers is also a really fun song to just listen to. I think the soundtrack of HSFS is definitely in the top half of soundtracks for Touhou games. The characters, as for the cast, it's really, for me personally, really saved by Okina. There isn't a single other character other than maybe Aun, Aunn, however you pronounce that, Aun, whatever. Other than maybe Aun, that really stood out to me. Aun. I don't know how to pronounce it. I like Aun, but other than that, the cast, other than Aun and Okina, the cast is so bland. For me, there's just nothing there. nothing going on. The plot is almost like a reverse Touhou 7. Like the idea of the seasons has been done before with Touhou 7. Um, it's got its issues for me. It's got a lot of bonus points. I think. Do you remember? No, no, no. I don't. Um, I think I've had problems with this game because I played it on the Steam version, which lagged a lot for me. I've only ever played 16 on the Steam version of Touhou 16, and it lagged a lot for me. I remember having issues with playing it on full screen. Like, it just wouldn't work. So I've had issues with the Steam version, which might lower my personal opinion of it. But overall, it's got similar to DDC, I think. It's a similar game to DDC. It's got a lot of good points, got a lot of bad points, and it lands dead in the middle for me. And it lands as an average game, in my opinion. It's got a lot of broken stuff too, similar to DDC. It's a very similar game to DDC, actually. It's like, now that I think about it, it's like Touhou 7 meets Touhou 14, and they create this as their love child. Like, that's actually literally what a game. That's actually really good. Now that I think about it, yeah. It's just Touhou 7 and Touhou 14 made a love child, and it's Touhou 16. So I guess it makes sense that it's in the same tier as them. So there's one game left, but it's not on this tier list. And that's Touhou 17. I would put it in A tier above LLS, I think. Like where that shadow bit there is, like here. Like LLS would be here, 17 would be here, I think. I enjoyed 17, maybe because it was the least frustrating game for me, because I beat it on my fourth try. But the biggest problem with Touhou 17, for sure, is bullet visibility, I think. Um, like, bullet visibility hasn't been this bad since the PC 98 days. It's very often, especially using the wolf, animal spirit thing. But that gimmick deserves to pull in hell, yeah. Especially using the wolf spirit, because a lot of times you just can't see shit. Bullet visibility hasn't been as bad in Touhou 17 since like Touhou 5 Stage 4, I think. Yeah, it might be worse than LLS. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's around LLS tier. It might be top of B. I don't know. It's around that time. It's around that area. The gimmick is like basically. I would say it's trance, but better. Personally, I like how it changes depending on which one you pick between Wolf, Otter, and Eagle. Even if the Otter version, the Bomb version, is just ridiculously broken, and then the Wolf version is just better than the Eagle version. Um, it's pretty unbalanced, but I like how the actual gimmick itself changes from being. It's basically UFO and TD in one. Yeah, the Wolves. Yeah, the gimmick is like 10 Desires and UFO's gimmick mixed into one. Which I don't mind the gimmick. The only problem I have with the gimmick is that it makes bullet visibility go to shit. And sometimes you can just get hit by something you could have never seen coming. Like I've had that happen to me sometimes. Even in Touhou 7, I've had it happen sometimes. In the PC 98 games for sure. You just get hit and you have no idea what the fuck hit you. Touhou 17 does that a lot. Um, but I do like it. I do like the gameplay. I think it's a pretty fun game to play. Again, maybe because I had a lucky break and only had to play it 4 times to get to the end, so it didn't really grate on me too much. But from what I've experienced, I enjoyed the game. quite a bit. But my biggest issue for sure is the bullet visibility mixed with the fact that the gimmick is it's worse UFO, better Tender's Eyes gimmick. The little secrets in every stage to get more life pieces is kind of neat, I guess. I didn't know that was a thing. I actually didn't know that was a thing. I've not played. I guess I've not played 17 enough. But that does sound kind of neat. Maybe not so neat once you know the secret. You basically just get a free life piece. But yeah, that does sound kind of cool. Uh, the cast, the story, and the soundtrack of Touhou 17 are all really stellar, though. Uh, Keiki is great, Saki is great. I like Mayumi a lot. Kutaka Fried Chicken, everyone loves Kutaka. Yachi, I used to not like that much, but I do like it. For examples, in stage 1, you have to kill the mid boss without killing familiars. Oh, okay. That does sound kind of cool, actually. Although I've never really experienced it all that much. I like the cast a lot of 17. I like the story a lot, how it kind of reverses expectations, I guess, to where you're, even though I guess, Reimer and Marissa aren't the best of people anyway, it kind of makes you the villain of the story while Keiki is more of a hero of the story. Maybe in a bit of a forced way with the spirits possessing them, but it is a pretty interesting story. It's a very story driven game, which I do like. Similar to the Windows 2 era games like 11 and, well, specifically 12, in the fact that it's very story driven, a lot more story driven than other games. And the music is also really good. Saki's theme, Keiki's theme, yeah, dialogue is really good, especially the dialogue towards the end of the game with Keiki and Mayumi. That dialogue is great. Also how it's introduced the different tribes of hell, and it's going to play a bigger role in Torah 17.5, which hasn't come out yet. Um, Maybe once Torah 17.5 comes out, I'll have an even greater opinion of how the story blends together, um, and how it impacts a lot of stuff, how it all is. Because it does definitely seem like the 17.5 story is going to play off 17 a lot. Keiki has one of the best final boss themes, yeah, for sure. Um, what I like about Keiki's final boss theme is that it feels like it's all different genres mixed into one. Which is pretty unique. I find like it goes from being rock 1 minute to your normal Zunpits not 1 minute, rock 1 second to your normal Zunpits 1 second to like electro kind of thing the next second. It's very dynamic. That theme got third place in the popularity contest just as it came out. Yep. It's a really good song. Really, really good song. Not my favorite Final Boss song because Okinu's theme exists, but probably second or third favorite behind Byakuran's, tied with Byakuran's maybe. But yeah, my big issue with 17 is mostly just the bullet visibility. And the fact that the gimmick has kind of been done before twice. It's just a mix of two others. Keiki's fight is not that great. It's easy. And specifically the end portion, you can't really lose at the end portion because it just gives you so many spirits. Although it feels the most final boss like of any final boss in the series, especially with the end, the actual perfect pixel perfect dodging boss. Yeah, it feels the most final boss like of any final boss in the series, mostly because of the end portion, I think. But a lot of her attacks can be a bit bullshit. A lot of her attacks can be a bit annoying to dodge. Um, the gameplay, I think, is definitely the worst part of Touhou 17. Like, again, the cast, the story, the soundtrack, the dialogue is all. I really love all of that. Touhou 17, the gameplay does hold it back low. So, like I said, it's either like. I'd put it at bottom of 8 here, I think. It's not that hard, but it's not really that iconic to me. Yeah. I've only played it 4 times, like I said, but I'll probably put it at the bottom of A tier behind LLS. So just imagine Touhou 17 is here, I guess, or here, one of the two. It's pretty much tied with LLS for me, I think. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about. That's the tier list done to Discord. Don't think there's anything else I really want to say. I'm pretty looking at it. I'm pretty happy with this. I think this reflects my opinion pretty well, as it currently is.